Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome back after much too long of a hiatus to Season 2 of the Ottercar AI Racing Series. A whole host of new drivers taking to the grid here this morning at the Summit Point Raceway for round 1 of competition here in this 12-week season. And of course, taking a quick look down here, doing a bit of road course racing here this season. Not going to be all road courses, but for the most part, going to be all road courses here this season. And we're going to be kicking things off here for the Snowfall Showdown here at the Summit Point Raceway at a different configuration from when it was used last season. Of course, this did hold the race for Ottercar Season 1, round number 3, but we were at the Jefferson Circuit layout, which was substantially smaller than this one, but now we're here at the actual Summit Point Raceway. 2 miles or 3.2 kilometers in length, course up in Summit Point, West Virginia. And this is a track that primarily is used for driver training in private clubs more than it is for actual serious competition nowadays. But let's be real here. Can we really call this a serious competition? I think we fit right in here at this speedway. And of course, one of the big features here at this track is the 2,900 foot long or 883 meter long front straightaway that the drivers are lined up on right about now. And speaking of those drivers, how about we take a look down and see how things will be shaking up for our starting grid here this morning. Starting out on the pole here in the number 1 machine, that is going to be Med with the 11 of Ash starting to her outside in position number 2. Third place going to go back to that number 7 machine. That is going to be Kevin 11 rolling it off position number 3 in the Crest Complete entry with Ash, not to be confused with Ash, starting off in position number 4 in the 030 entry. Fifth place going to go back to that number 3 machine, one of the drivers for the Shelter for Strays group, which is also the group that Kevin 11 is a part of, is going to be thirds, rolling it off in position number 5. Sixth place going to go back to that 21 machine of August with limited time number 44, of course, the McDonald's McRib, rolling it off position number 7. Eighth place going to go back to the 985 machine. That's going to be Mr. Jeremy Albertson rolling it off in position number 8, capping off row 4 here out of this 26 car field. Row 5 is going to be the 2 hybrid development team members side by side. That's going to be the 26 of Raleigh and the number 2 of Ame Sakaramori, starting off 9th and 10th respectively. Our hotkeys are not working here, so we're just gonna have to take y'all out of the immersion real bit as we type in some commands, because the hotkeys do not feel like working today. 11th place can go back to that 37 machine, one of the Blazing Drunk drivers. That is going to be Ametrine Queen, sponsored by Riot Games, rolling it off in position number 11, followed by the 4 machine of Mr. Dwayne Day, rolling it off position number 12. 13th going to be going back to the 93 of Blue D Wolf, followed by the 330 machine of Lake, back in position number 14. 15th going to be going back to the 666 entry of Zoe, followed by one of the Blazing Drunk drivers. That's going to be the 776 of Valnar. 17th going back to the 88 of Ashley with Chris Cox in the 69, rolling off in position number 18. 19th going back to the 369. That's going to be the 369 machine of Drop Table Roster, rolling off position number 19, followed by the 777 entry of Sarah Something, rolling it off position number 20. 21st going back to the 818 machine. That's MF Beatus starting off in position 21, followed by Oh You Know in the 420, back in position number 22. For some reason, the drivers from 22nd on back decided not to set a qualifying time, so technically starting behind me, even though I am not here in this race, is going to be the 901 machine of Sarkin. I don't even know what number that is for Deke. I think that's an 800 for the driver starting in position 25. 12 machine of Pav, another one of the Shelter for Strays drivers starting off position number 26, followed by Madcap in the 38, rounding out the Blazing Drunk drivers back in 27th. And that should be everyone. That's just the blocker cars. Yep, that's everyone here in the starting grid. Wow, that took way more effort to get through than it needed to. That said, drivers still currently going through the pace lap here tonight. Of course, with this being a 2-mile long speedway, it takes a little bit of time to get around the track, but just about ready to get things started here. Pace car is going to be diving down into the pit lane pretty much at the end of this little bit of a straightaway here. And then we will be ready to go green flag racing here for the Snowfall Showdown first round of the Season 2 of the Ottercar AI Racing Series. 25 laps going to be the distance here today. Green flag up in the air, and it's a mad scramble down that 2,800 foot long straightaway for lap 1 of the competition. Med off to an early lead here. Everyone else kind of in a mad dash to try and find positions here. Ash almost off the speedway in that number 11 machine, but fortunately managed to hang on to it. Just a little bit of a scrape against the outside, not quite the outside wall, but the outside curving there. So far, so good. Down through 3 and 4. Everyone playing nice with each other for the most part, and I say that immediately we have a car around, and uh-oh, that's trouble. Well, so much for that. We're just going to have to throw the caution, and still our hotkeys are not working. There we go, now they are. Caution flag immediately out on the speedway, because none of these people know how to drive, apparently. I thought we agreed that these were professional race car drivers, but immediately I'm starting to have some suspicions here. Let's see if we can't take a look back and see who all was actually involved in this. Word from the truck. It started with, it looks like, there might have actually been 2 separate incidents here. There's a lot we're going to have to break down, so let's just take a moment. Let's try and jump back and figure out what all went down here. So first, we're already at a separate incident here further back. This is back at like the tail end of the field with Deeg, and it looks like the 777 of Sarah something going off the side of the track, and everything seems pretty alright there. And then we have to jump even further up to try and get a better idea of what all went down. Looking at the 030 of Ash, not to be confused with Ash that's right behind him. He goes off the track, loses it, spins around, collects the other Ash, and everyone keeps on going through like there's not cars wrecking here. Ame Sakuramori involved, 666 of Zoe involved, Drop Table Roster involved, Lake involved, and the 818 of MF Beatus also involved in this incident. Well, that's certainly one way to kick off the season on a high note. Looks like several drivers did elect... No, actually, everyone has stayed out on the speedway except the 030 of Ash, who has taken the tow back to pit lane here. The caution flag immediately going out on the speedway, and we might just end up seeing that shaking up our pit strategies a little bit here, because of course these drivers do not have the fuel necessary to make it to the end here. But it does not look like we have any takers for the time being. Though we will still probably have another lap or 2 under caution before we can say that really one way or another. In the meantime, though, thank you all for coming out and tuning into today's event. After everything that we have been through in the last year and a half trying to get this project put together, it's finally happening. one way or another. Of course, round 1 of 12 here with the Snowfall Showdown here. And currently, looks like biggest mover on the speedway is actually Madcap right now, running back in the 17th position. Currently up plus 10 right now, so evidently not qualifying. Not a huge deal for the driver of that 38 machine. Of course, one of the Blazing Drunk Drivers members started back in 27th, now running pretty comfortably up inside the top 20. Of course, generally being inside the top 10 or the top 5 is where you want to be, but still a long way left to go in this race, one way or another. That said, it's not looking like anyone is actually going to be taking the call to go down pit lane, so we will be shortening this caution here. Just because, since there is no overtime, we don't want this entire race to be spent under yellow here. And again, you're gonna have to ruin the immersion a little bit because the hotkeys are just not working today, much like everything else that is not working right now. But lights are off on the iRacing.com pace car, so we will be going green flag racing once again here. And maybe this time around drivers can be a little bit, not necessarily safer or more courteous, but maybe we can go more than 4 corners without the caution flag coming out. This is a 10-corner speedway. We couldn't even complete an entire lap before we had to throw the yellow. That said, green flag back up in the air, and everyone immediately elects to dive back down to the inside line, except for Kevin 11, who decides to keep it up on the high line. Thirds in that 3 machine joins him out there, now battling for the race lead with Med here. But stuck on the outside line, going down into turn number 1. Not quite the place you want to be. She's going to fall back a couple of positions. Now find yourself back in the 3rd position. And frankly, for the driver of that number 3 machine, a 3rd place finish might be a little bit better to her than an actual win. Couple of drivers slightly off the speedway there going through turn number 3, but everyone's keeping it pointed mostly in the right direction, and there is Valnar sailing down like a rocket. And everyone's slamming on the brakes here, but there's not really... Okay, yeah, we might have to throw the caution flag again if these drivers can't get rolling. Sure enough, people are calling the tow truck. They're nearly flipping Ame Sakuramori over. And sure enough, most of the drivers there in that incident just took the tow down the pit lane. So, caution flag going to be going out on the speedway once again because no one can cooperate with each other here. Thirds isn't even on the track. Neither is Jeremy Albertson. They're not even trying at this point. I'm also pretty sure Thirds just passed for the lead under yellow. That's not exactly a legal move there. But evidently that's not stopping her because she is being scored as a no. Okay, race control did tell her to give the position back to the number 1 of Med, so there's at least that. But caution flag on the speedway here for the 2nd time. Drivers trying their best to get caught up to the pace car. We had a couple of incidences of drivers going off the track under caution, particularly with drop table roster here. Mind you, this is after the yellow flag came out and he's driving off the track anyways. Well, of course, this is the same drop table roster from last season. Nothing is going to stop him, and certainly not any rules or any other forms of codes of conduct in racing. That would be ridiculous. That said, how about we take a look back, try and figure out what all went down to bring out the caution flag here. Word is that it's starting here with Valnar, and let's actually take a top-down look here. Valnar gets shoved off the track, hits the tire barriers, comes back onto the track into his teammate of Madcap, and then everyone just starts to slow down, and there's Sarah Survivor piling in, several drivers just blowing the corner, completely ignoring the fact that there is a yellow flag on the speedway at this point, and everyone is just shoving into each other. That was a little bit ridiculous, but you know what? We can't put it above the Ottercar drivers to actually be sensible or reasonable. Especially here in race number 1, everyone wants to be the first driver to lock themselves into the playoffs. Let's see here. Do we have any takers down onto pit lane? And it looks like, yes, actually most of the field is going to decide to come down here, try and get some fuel in those machines. Because again, nobody has the fuel to make it to the end. They're going to have to pit at least once here this evening. Sarkin, Queen Amatrine, Chris Cox, Dwayne Day, August, Zoe, all making the call down here. Valnar still down on pit lane, as well as Sarah Saviron and Ash, as well as the other Ash also down on pit lane here. But everyone in your top 14, so Med thirds, Kevin 11, Jeremy Albertson, Bloody Wolf, Ashley, oh you know, Madcap, Drop Table Roster, Deeg, Rally. Actually, no, it's just going to be your top 11 all electing to stay out, because then it's just the blocker cars that, of course, they don't have any limitations they have to worry about. Pitting is not a issue at all. That said, everyone has completed their stops and caught up to the pace car, so once again, we will be shortening the length of this caution for the sake of not having this entire race be under yellow. So lights are out on the pace car. We're going to be going green this time by Med, and thirds will be your front row. Then it's going to be Jeremy Albertson, Kevin 11 back for row number 2. Then it's going to be Ashley Bloody Wolf for row 3. Then we're going to have Deeg, Oh You Know, and Drop Table Roster making up the rest of the cars in the front half of this pack. And it looks like some of the blocker cars are a little bit interspersed in the middle there. So that's going to make this restart really fishy for some of these drivers that pit. Of course, Sarkin, Zoe, Dwayne Day, Queen Amatrine, all stuck behind these blocker cars. And of course, they do not have anywhere near the top speed or the acceleration that these super late models do. So this is going to be a very sketchy restart for some of these drivers. That said, going to be going green flag racing, iRacing.com pace car back down into the safety of pit lane. We're going to try this thing again, race fans. Green flag up in the air, and once again, thirds going to be one of the few drivers electing to stay up high going down into turn number 1. She's going to pull up alongside Med and contest for the lead again, but I think once again we're going to see her struggle a little bit to keep the momentum on the high line, and sure enough, she actually manages to stay in the battle for the lead here. And now she has the advantage going down into turn number 3. Sure enough, Med's going to get shoved off the track. Thirds is going to be our new race leader here, and she starts to pull away a pretty comfortable gap as the rest of the field comes piling on in just behind. It seems like for the most part, people are actually navigating this corner correctly, which is lovely to see. Couple of drivers off the speedway, but they're just on the grass and not actually, you know, completely blocking the track, so we will be keeping it green here. And for once, we can actually have a full, complete lap here. Believe it or not, I didn't think it was possible, but we are going to be having a complete lap under green here as Med and Bloody Wolf both go off the speedway. Once again, these drivers just seem not to care about track limits. If it lets you carry the momentum, why not, I guess. Though really, it doesn't seem like that line is actually helping anyone here, particularly because they're slowing down not to unsafe rejoin, and Sark's just going to run into the back of the number 93. We might have Sarkin's engine blown just from doing that. Brilliant move, absolutely wonderful performance out of the driver in the 901 machine. Caution flag is back out on the speedway for one of the most sophisticated and well thought out racing moves we've seen here in a long time. Everyone point and laugh at the driver of the 901 machine for bringing out that caution flag. Let's take a look back here. Get another look at this whole incident. Of course, starting with the 901 machine, let's see if we can't get a better view of this. All of these camera angles suck. You love to see it. This one works. So, several drivers at this rate have just gone off the track trying to take the optimal line, and that certainly is not it. Coming up behind 93 of Bloody Wolf, who slammed on the brakes to try and not unsafe rejoin, because while these AI are most certainly willing to completely ignore track limits, they still are not willing to unsafe rejoin. That crosses the line for them. And so, sure enough, Woody Wolf slams on the brakes. Sarkin does not. Sarkin's engine explodes, and he immediately takes the call down to pit lane on the tow truck. So, lovely race strategy there by the driver of the 901 machine. Really in it to win it. Now, as we wait for the rest of the field to catch up to the pace car, thirds in the number 3 machine is going to be scored as our race leader Kevin 11 in the 7, just behind, back in position number 2. Oh, you know, right now up plus 19. The same with the 38 of Madcap, also currently up plus 19 right now. This field has been completely turned on its head, and right now the only driver that is still in the same position where they started is the 37 of Queen Ametrine, sponsored by Riot Games. Every other driver in the field right now has either gained a crazy amount of positions or lost a crazy amount of positions. Right now the biggest decrease in spots is to the 44 of Limited Time McDonald's McRib, down 21 spots from where he qualified right now. But as we get ready to cross the line here, let's see if we have any takers down the pit lane. Yes, Jeremy Albertson comes down. Ashley comes down. Ash also making the call to come down along with Lake. So several drivers making the call to get some more fuel here. Jeremy Albertson also coming down to pit lane. And of course, you see Sarkin back there. He's not going to be coming out pit lane anytime soon. That was some terminal damage to the engine of that machine. Rest of the drivers making their way back out, though. Just some quick splashes of fuel seems to be the call for most of these drivers under these stops. 7 seconds is roughly how much time these drivers spent in their boxes here. And it looks like just about everyone has caught up to the pace car, so once again we will be shortening the length of this caution. Going to be going green flag racing next time by. It's going to be thirds and Kevin 11 making up your front row here. And you gotta consider here, everyone in your top 8 now, Kevin 11 thirds, Rally, Drop Table, Roster, Oh You Know, Madcap, Med, and Deeg have still not come down to pit lane. So your top 8 drivers here still have to pit at some point or another. Nothing is certain quite yet in this race. Still pretty decent ways left to go here. Only 9 laps officially completed here out of the 25 scheduled for this event. And about halfway around the track now, so we're getting there, slowly but surely making our way back around to the start finish line so we can get this thing rolling once again. And down the back stretch, almost there and ready to go. Seems like a couple of drivers aren't quite in their correct starting positions, but you know what? It's whatever. This is Ottercar. Nobody's trying at this rate. Green flag back up in the air. Still nobody's in the correct starting spot. Some of these people aren't even going. It's chaos out here on the racetrack, race fans. Nobody seems to know what's happening. Frankly, I don't blame them. I'm not entirely sure either. But once again, our race leaders dive it down into turn number 1. Third still holding on to the lead. Kevin 11 just behind. Oh, you know, and Med all breaking away into a little bit of a separate group from the rest of the field as everyone kind of lagged behind on that restart. Going to be August leading the pack just behind. Of course, Ash up there is not on the lead lap in that number 11 machine. And a couple of drivers going off the speedway once again. Oh, you know, having a bit of trouble. Med having some trouble. And everyone kind of unnecessarily slamming on the brakes here. And once again, we have a massive pileup in turn number 4. Most of the drivers are getting it rolling again, but it's looking like, yeah, some of these drivers are going to have to take the tow. And yeah, okay, this is a futile effort. Caution flag once again, because nobody in these cars knows how to drive. Genuine skill issue. I think I hired a bunch of toddlers to drive these cars. Like, what is this? We're under yellow. Why are you going off the speedway? That's entirely unnecessary. The yellow flag means slow down. We went over this in the pre-race drivers meeting on what the different flags mean, and we're still just full sending it around the speedway at this point. But give it up for caution flag number 4 here on the speedway. I have a dream that one day these drivers might be able to handle themselves, get the cars under control. I'd like to say this wouldn't count and is just a warm-up race, but unfortunately it does very much count. This race does have playoff implications, no matter which way you cut it here. This is for points. I'm not entirely sure all of these drivers are 100% aware of that fact that this race going on here is actually for points, but it's fine. It's whatever. They're probably having fun. Question mark. Now the big question will be, who will the takers down on pit lane be? Will we see any of these drivers that have still stayed out here actually make the call to come down? Blocker cars still having some trouble actually catching up to the field here. They're getting there slowly but surely. And sure enough, we do have some takers down the pit lane. Oh, you know, Deeg, Rally, and Med all making the call down to pit lane. This will be the first pit stop for all 4 of them. And I'd imagine the call for these drivers is just going to be fuel. We spent enough time under caution that I don't think that tires are really going to be an issue here. I say that, some of these drivers are spending more time than I would expect them to down on pit lane. Unless they have damage that needs to be repaired, I'm not quite sure. I mean, of course, Jeremy Albertson down here has been on pit lane for 2 minutes now. He's trying to get all that damage fixed up, but the rest of the drivers don't look all that bad. Everyone out of pit lane making their way back around the speedway. Looks like Ash, not to be confused with Ash, is our lucky dog in that restaurant's care number 11, so he will be getting put back on the lead lap here, provided he can actually get around the track in time. That's kind of a big what if here. He's doing his best. He is actually going decently close to full speed here. I mean, he can go faster than that, but it's a little bit fast to be going under caution. The big yellow flag that means slow down. But nope, he's certainly sending it. Will he at least make the corner? He almost lost it. Really doing us proud here, Ash. I believe in you. You can catch up to the rest of the field. Don't overshoot turn 1 here, Ash. Be careful. It would be really embarrassing if you wrecked out trying to catch up to the field here. That said, everyone that's going to be out of pit lane is out of pit lane here. So once again, going to shorten the caution, we will be going green flag racing this time by. Thirds still being scored as your race leader here. That's going to be Kevin 11, Dwayne Day, and Chris Cox in August rounding out the top 5. And then we have a blocker car being scored in 6th place right now because everyone has just thrown everything out the window that badly. Green flag up in the air. Kevin 11 darn near goes off the track taking the green. Not quite sure what that was about. But we are racing once again. August and Thirds both up +4 right now as they sail down into turn number 1. Thirds manages to hang on to the lead. August not quite enjoying that off-camber corner. And we have someone off the track. That is the 800 of Deeg overshooting the corner just a little bit here. And as usual, actually going to wait and try not to unsafe rejoin. Unlike some of these other drivers. Oh, Dwayne Day also off the track. Again, just not even trying to make the corner at this rate. There is no attempt to drive good here. They're doing their best, but their best is not really good. That's the 030 of Ash getting spun around. But for the most part, people are actually avoiding the incident. People are still rolling generally in the right direction. A hard impact up there for drop table roster. There is debris flying off of that 369 machine. Is he able to get it rolling though, or is that going to bring out another caution? He is going to take the tow down the pit lane. This is the 8th off track for this driver in 13 laps. That's a little bit disappointing. Has anyone reached the double digits yet? No. No, they haven't. It's just drop table roster here with incident number 8 in these 13 laps we've completed. What a wild time for these drivers. Once again, there's someone in particular you all get to point and laugh at right now. Drop table roster is today's biggest loser for whatever he tried to pull off right there. We can even find where that all went down in the incident report. There are so many incidents all piled on top of each other right now that I'm actually having trouble finding out where drop table roster's particular incident is. I think it's right here. Sure enough, here it is, Mr. Drop Table Roster. In it to win it, overdriving the corner from, I believe, 19th place. Wonderful driving skills by the driver of that 369 machine, immediately tearing off the front wheel cover and putting us back under caution. A couple of drivers really in an unfortunate situation there. Let's see here. Thirds and also Kevin 11 elected to pit under green there. That's going to cycle them both back to 9th and 10th place respectively. Now we have August being scored as our race leader with Queen Amatrine sponsored by Riot Games up in position number 2. Ashley and Chris Cox 3rd and 4th. Now, what a complete disaster of a race. Everyone trying to get caught back up to the pace car, but it does look like a lot of drivers have made the call down to pit lane. Rally, Dwayne Day, Oh You Know, Lake, Drop Table Roster, Madcap, Zoe, Sarkin, Sarah Something, Ame Sakuramori, Bloody Wolf. There are a lot of drivers on pit lane right now. We started this race with 26 super late models. And right now it is looking like there is 8 still on the track. So good work, gang. And this is a mere 25 lap race, and in 15 laps we have managed to lose more than half of the Ottercar drivers. Everyone's trying to get caught back up to the pace car, but there's varying levels of success here. We're also getting word that we had drivers again go off the speedway under yellow. Supposedly Sarkin was one of them. Let's take a look back here. Caused one of the cautions, and you know what? Why not just do it again under yellow? You can see the flagman up there. Barney is waving the yellow flag, but we're just gonna drive out off the track anyways. It's no big deal. It's fine. It's whatever. Currently, everyone trying to figure out the correct starting order here. There's a little bit of mixed signals going on who should be where. Once we get within 3 to go, the caution flag is not going to be thrown. Since again, there is no overtime here in Ottercar, and this race is going to end under green flag conditions one way or another. Rumor has it, yep, Sarah Something just gonna go ahead and drive off the track. Why not? Might as well. No big deal. We've been under yellow for several laps now, and she still manages to drive off the track. I'm starting to think that a lot of these drivers just don't have driver's licenses, period. Like, screw racing licenses or whatever. I think a lot of these drivers just have never driven in a car prior to this race. I think that's the only explanation here. Lake is off the track. Lake, why? What are you doing? And that's the only explanation. These drivers have never driven cars before prior to this race. It all makes sense now. I'll tell you what, race fans, I think we've cracked the code. I think Lake damaged her steering with that. Good job, Lake. I'm really proud of you. Let's jump back up to the front of the field here. Everyone's back out on the track. That's going to be back on the track. So again, we're going to go ahead and give the signal to go racing next time by. It's going to be August and Queen Amatrine on your front row. That's going to be Med and Ashley just behind, followed by thirds, a couple of blockers, and Kevin 11. The blocker cars should not be doing this well, especially because they're blocking on the restart so hard. Green flag is back up in the air, but that doesn't matter because the blocker car says no. You're not allowed to draw. No racing allowed for you. But our top 3 sent it down into turn number 1 once again. August Ashley and Queen Amatrine, sponsored by Riot Games, up here in your top 3. And they are pulling away from the rest of the field here for the most part. A couple of drivers off the speedway down in turn number 1. That's Rally around. Rally didn't even catch up to the pace car. Rally went off all by themselves. Everyone is everywhere, all over the place. Again, I'm really starting to think that a lot of these drivers have never driven race cars before. And give it up for the 800 of Deeg for 10th off track of the race. First driver to get up to the double digits here. Wonderful performance by the driver, that number 800 machine. Down on power, but still on the track. We're not throwing the caution flag for that. And once again, a couple drivers making the call down to pit lane. August, Queen, Ametrine, and Lake all coming down. So that will have Ashley in the number 88 be our new race leader, and be our new race leader pretty uncontested at that. Couple of drivers back in the back once again struggling with turn number 10, but you know what? That's not my problem, race fans. For the most part, people are going the right direction, and that is half of the battle here. Battle going on for second here, and Ash finding himself back up inside of the top 3 here after going all the way back to the tail end of the field, several laps down, and now he's finding himself back up here in the 3rd position. A stellar performance by the driver of that number 11 machine. Having to get around that 7 to Kevin 11 is not going to be easy, though. That said, looks like trouble for... Yeah, Ashley's off the track. That's our race leader in the 88 going off the speedway. So now Kevin 11 is going to be back up to the front of the field here. Ash just behind. Ash really could be attempting to do basically a last to first challenge here. He went several laps down earlier in this event. Now he is battling it out right behind Kevin 11. About half a second dividing the two, and Kevin 11 has trouble. He goes off the speedway. That's going to allow Ash to get the run on him, going down the front stretch side by side for the race lead here. Ash now being scored as the new race leader, and he has the advantage going down into turn number 1. Believe it or not, it is possible for these drivers to actually compete, especially as Ash shoves Kevin 11 off the speedway. Now he is going to have a bit of a definite lead here, about half a second heading down into turn 3. Both drivers navigating turn 3 without much difficulty. Can they handle turn number 4? That's where all the struggle has been recently. Ash takes 4 in a good fashion, so does Kevin 11. I am so proud of these drivers. It only took 19 laps, but they're starting to learn how to drive just a little bit here. Ashley off the track. She is now at off track number 10, and she's going to crash into the side of the 777 of Sarah something. They're still keeping it rolling, though. No caution flag out on the speedway. It doesn't matter. Sarah something off the speedway here, waiting for the field to go by so that she can get it going without an unsafe rejoin. Further up in the front, Med and Ash, not to be confused with race leader Ash, also battling it out here in the 1 and 030 machines respectively. Med a little bit of trouble going off the speedway there, but Ash not quite able to capitalize on it the same way that we saw other Ash do it for the lead of the race. That side-by-side battle further back is not for position. Both those cars are not on the lead lap back there. That looks like that is Kevin 11, or no, not Kevin 11. That is Dwayne Day and Chris Cox side by side. Chris Cox is on the lead lap here. Or no, not Kevin 11. Dwayne Day in the bright green machine is not on the lead lap here, so this battle is not for position. The closest battle on the speedway actually is the battle here for second. Or third, excuse me, between Med and Ash. 0.3 of a second between these two drivers. 5 laps left to go around this 2-mile long speedway. And Med, we've seen Med make mistakes coming here through turn number 10 multiple times now. If she's not able to keep that car underneath her, we could see a pass for position. Ash gonna pull it out, see if he can't try and get around her. 0.1 of a second between the two drivers, and it does look like Ash has the advantage, but Kevin 11 is around up just in front. What happened to the driver of that number 7 machine? He was battling for the race lead here. Now all the way back in 5th. See if we can't take a look back and see what happened to Kevin 11 real quick before we go back to... Uh-oh. I see exactly what happened to Kevin 11 here. It looks like somebody strapped a pipe bomb underneath that number 7 machine. Shockingly, it is still in racing condition apparently, but yeah, sure enough. Just a small landmine that we've landed on the track is a treat. Finally getting hit by the driver of the number 7 machine, but despite that, he's still at racing capacity without much difficulty, and he's running inside the top 5 right now, right behind him. driver not on the lead lap. That is the 420 of Oh You Know. But still, the battle is raging on for now. Second is Kevin 11 is not a part of it anymore. Between Med and Ash. Other Ash has taken up a 5-second lead now, and things are looking pretty good for him now because we have officially hit 3 laps to go, so the caution flag will not be thrown past this point, so that the race ends under green. And right now all the drama is the battle for second. Also, very similarly, thirds in August are battling it out for sixth here. Not quite where the driver of that number 3 machine wanted to be. Of course, she has led laps here, so she will be picking up a couple of bonus points here after this event, but still not quite first, not quite third either, as she battles it out with the driver of that number 21 machine. And trouble up at the front. It looks like Med went off the speedway briefly, and that allowed Ash to get around her. Take a quick look back at this. Sure enough, Med just takes it too wide through turn number 5, and she loses a couple of positions there. And that pretty much throws away that battle she had going on for second. No, actually it doesn't. She's managed to get back up into this. Right behind her, that's Dwayne Day, again not on the lead lap here with 2 laps left to go. This battle could still rage on between Med and Ash. But Dwayne Day is not making it easy for her, getting pretty much in the way as possible here. Further back in the back, Drop Table Roster's off the speedway again, entirely by himself here. And he's not even trying to get back on the track. There's a tire barrier there. Some of these drivers struggling a little bit more than others to actually be on the speedway here. But of course, still looking down back at this battle for 6 between thirds and August. Now the closest battle on the speedway as they duke it out for the 5th position. 2 laps left to go here at the Summit Point Raceway. And thirds goes off the track. That might just be the end of the battle right there. She keeps it pointed in the right direction, but August is going to get around her in the 21 machine. And sure enough, August begins to pull away here in this battle. More drivers off the speedway. A rally is around. Currently running back in the 16th position in the 26th machine. They get back out on the track without too much difficulty. White flag up in the air, and Med makes the call to come down pit lane. Med did not have enough fuel to make it to the end. That is her race completely over with. She's coming back out on the speedway, but she's fallen all the way back to 8th here. And with that, Ash pretty much runs the show without much difficulty. A 5.5 second lead here. All he has to do is not go off the track, because of course the other Ash, a full 5.6 seconds back. That's a pretty big deficit to have to make up. Of course, anything can happen in these final couple of corners. We have seen stranger things happen here in the Ottercar AI Racing Series. There's just one corner left that Ash has to handle without wrecking out. And he will be the first driver to lock himself into the playoffs of Ottercar Season 2. Going through turn 10, Ash handles it like a champ. And coming across the checkered flag here, Ash will be locking himself into the playoffs here in Ottercar Season number 2. That's going to be Ash and Chris Cox, of all people, finishing back in second. All the way back there is a couple of lap cars come across the line up in front. Lake is off the speedway further back in the back, but she's already back in 22nd anyways. There's a bit of a battle here between August and Kevin 11, but Kevin 11 is going to be the one that gets it. 0.2 of a second separating these two drivers as they cross the finish line. What a crazy race fans. It's a miracle we got any green flag racing actually happening here in today's event, but we managed to get some of it done. As these drivers make their way back around the field and back to their pit stop so that they can pack it up and head home, how about we take a look down at our unofficial race results for today's event. So first and second going to be Ash and Ash, not to be confused with Ash. Then it's going to be Chris Cox in the 69 machine back in position number 3. Kevin 11 going to be bringing it home 4th, followed by August rounding out the top 5 here. Back in 6th, going to be Amatrine Queen, sponsored by Riot Games, followed by Med back in 7th. 3rd and 8th, Ashley in 9th. Then, of course, these blocker cars do not actually count in the standings, so just pretend they're not there. Back in 10th will actually be Oh You Know, followed by Dwayne Day, Rally Madcap, and Zoe for your top 15 drivers here. Then back in 16th, technically, will be Jeremy Albertson, Deeg, Sarah Something, Lake, and Sarkin for the top 20. That's going to be Valinar Drop Table roster, Ame Sakaramori, Bloody Wolf, Limited Time, number 44. And MF Beatus rounding out, nope, and Pav, excuse me, rounding out the tail end of the field. Several drivers only made it 3 laps into tonight's event before catastrophe struck. What an event it has been here one way or another, though. Of course, that will mean that Ash is locked into the playoffs and will be going for a run at the championship here in the next couple of weeks. The rest of them still potentially on the chopping block. Still got to figure things out. Because, of course, we still have another, I believe, 5 opportunities for these drivers to lock themselves into the playoffs in these next couple of races. That said, for now, thank you all for tuning into today's event. I'm glad we finally managed to get Ottercar off the ground after way too long. And I look forward to seeing y'all next week at the Circuit of the Americas for the Shard of Texas 675. Thank you all for coming out, and I will see you all next time.